In the winter of 2020, an eruption echoed across the Rocky Mountains. An eruption of steam, coal smoke, and snow as a 1923-built rotary snowplow chewed its way up Cumbres Pass for the first time in over 20 years. In celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Cumbres Toltec Scenic Railroad, Rio Grande Rotary OY was brought out of mothballs for an exciting two-day event, plowing snow between Chama, New Mexico, and the summit of Cumbres Pass in Colorado. Two K-36 Class Mikados, number 487 and 484, put on a great show of brute force against gravity, shoving the OY up the 4% grade. The event took place on February 29th and March 1st, and 7 Idea Productions was on location to bring you the action. This was the first time the Rotary had been in operation since 1997, and a group of 150 photographers took part in a special charter to view this historic event. If you could not make it, this is the next best thing. Join us now for Steam and Snow, Rotary OY on Cumbres Pass. The summit of Cumbres Pass stands at an elevation of 10,015 feet. This crossing of the San Juan Mountains in southern Colorado was utilized by the Denver and Rio Grande Railroad as part of their San Juan extension between Alamosa and Durango. From the railroad's completion in the 1880s, snow removal was an annual necessity to keep the line open and trains moving during the winter months. The Denver and Rio Grande had an arsenal of flangers, spreaders, and steam rotary snowplows to handle the task. When narrow gauge operations ceased in the late 1960s, an effort was made to preserve the most scenic portions of the railroad, as well as locomotives and rolling stock. With help from the states of Colorado and New Mexico, the Cumbres Toltec Scenic Railroad was born in 1970. The year 2020 marked the railroad's 50th anniversary, and part of that celebration included the restoration and running of a classic piece of Rio Grande snow fighting equipment, the Rotary OY. This is Chama, New Mexico, a former helper base and crew change point on the San Juan extension. It is now the primary base of operations for the CNTS. For the past 50 years, the primary goal of the Cumbres Toltec Scenic Railroad has been to preserve the tradition of narrow-gauge operations on the DNRG. Void of many trappings often found on tourist railroads, the Cumbres Toltec is a living museum, showing man and machine working together as they did during the railroad's heyday. Normal operations are between late May and October, with passenger trains working over the 64-mile line between Chama and Antonito. You don't have to be a narrow gauge buff to enjoy the ride, which is one of the most scenic in the world. It's a cold, clear morning in late February as K-36 Mikado number 484 is positioned at the coal dock. Although a classic coaling tipple can be found in the yard, locomotives are now fed with a front-end loader. It is one of the few departures from tradition now utilized in the 21st century. During our summer visit in 2018, we found Rotary OY stored in the yard wearing light gray paint. This was the color DNRGW used on maintenance of way equipment back in the 1940s. Its last operation was in 1997, and at the time, there was doubt among the railfan community that it would ever run again. In June of 2019, the Rotary was moved to Antonito for mechanical and cosmetic work. In the fall, it returned to Chama wearing a fresh coat of red paint and ready to once again do battle with snow. Not only would this be a great way to kick off the 50th anniversary of the Cumbres Toltec Scenic Railroad, but it would also be the opportunity for older heads to pass on the much-needed skill set of operating a steam-powered rotary to a younger generation of narrow-gauge railroaders. The OY was the last rotary snowplow purchased by the DNRGW in 1923. It was built by the American Locomotive Company as a Leslie type, a patent Alco had acquired by that time. The OY was delivered with 2 sets of trucks, one standard gauge and one narrow gauge set. As far as we know, the standard gauge trucks were never used. The Rotary spent its career based in Antonito, clearing snow over the east side of Cumbres Pass. The business end of the plow is the fan, or snow cutting wheel. It measures 9 feet, 8 1/2 inches in diameter. The OY is one of 2 rotaries that have survived. The other is the OM, nicknamed Old Mod. Built in 1889 by Cook Locomotive and Machine Works, it is the oldest rotary on the DNRGW. During its service, it was based in Chama, where it survives today. Old Mod last saw action on the Cumbres and Toltec in the 1970s. Tucked in behind the OM is Jordan Spreader OU, the only spreader built specifically for narrow gauge by the Jordan Company. After taking on water, the OY, powered by K-36 number 487, will head for the main track, then back through the yard to the 484 and the remainder of the work train. Steam generated by the OY's boiler only powers the fan. The rotary is not self-propelled and therefore needs locomotives to move. On this weekend's snowplow run, the railroad will utilize the 487 and 484, both K-36 class locomotives, which were originally delivered to the DNRGW in 1925. A total of 10 K-36s were delivered, and of that 10, 5 are owned by the Cumbres and Toltec, and the remaining 4 are found on the Durango and Silverton. One K-36, number 485, was scrapped after an accident in 1955. After lining the switch for the main, the 487 backs to couple on to the 484 and the rear of the train, which is waiting by the depot. Over 150 photographers from as far away as Europe, Japan, and Australia participated in this special event. While awaiting for the train to depart, this small group have made a 4-foot-tall snowman to christen the Rotary. He has 2 arms, a carrot for a nose, and it wasn't hard to find eyes and a mouth made out of coal. As the snow train got underway, the crew played right along, giving us an example of why it is never a good idea to play near train tracks. All fun aside, it's time to head out on the main line and get to the serious business of plowing snow. Despite not having much snow to work with in the lower elevations, the train still put on a great show as it departed Chama. This is the 29th day of February, leap year day, and the weather is absolutely perfect. Bringing up the rear of the work train is the cook car number 53, a former mail and baggage car built in 1885. It was transformed into a rolling kitchen for maintenance of way crews in the 1940s. It is followed by the 04258, a modified boxcar used by section men during snow service with the OY. The car dates back to the 1890s. Caboose number 0306 is actually a replica made out of a boxcar in 1982. And if we may say so, it's a pretty good kit bash. We repositioned a milepost 342 and the foot of the heavy 4% grade to Cumbres Pass. Entering a portion of the railroad known as the Narrows, the OY works a little harder, breaking up the packed ice and snow. Setting up near the curve at Lobato Lake, smoke erupts through the trees as the locomotives begin to slip their drivers. Coal smoke fills the air as the rotary slowly works our way. The rotary snowplow requires a crew of 4. The man in the doorway near the front of the plow is the pilot. Forward visibility in the rotary isn't very good, so the pilot must lean out the side, or in the old days, stand on the roof. Whistle commands or hand signals are used to communicate with the locomotives. A second man operates the wheel, and 2 firemen have the task of shoveling coal into the firebox and maintaining proper boiler pressure. The train struggles around the curve at Lobato Lake. After waiting for the photo line to reassemble, the OY continues plowing through Lobato. Reaching Lobato Trestle, the 487 is separated from the 484 due to a weight restriction. The trestle simply isn't strong enough to support two K-36 locomotives. 487 takes the plow ahead. Moments later, 484 follows suit with the rear of the train. Soon, the show continues as the OY works through a cut high above Wolf Creek. Every now and then, you might see a locomotive send up a smoke ring. Smoke, steam, and snow seem to erupt out of the ground as the Rotary nears Dalton. The train stops momentarily in the crossing at Dalton. Since the Rotary is steam-powered, it requires a tender. Notice the wooden doors that cover the top of the tender. Apparently, the Rio Grande was concerned of excess ice and snow mixing with the coal. Behind the tender is auxiliary water car number 0472. Built by Union Tank Car, it was added to the Rotary consist in the 1950s, extending its service time between water stops, which otherwise was only about 3 hours. It's a great startup as the OY gets the high ball. The Rotary works to the rhythm of the two Mikados, keeping a steady beat up the 4% grade. During a brief stop at the second crossing of Highway 17, we can see coal being added to the Rotary's firebox. Sit back and enjoy the show as the snow train works its way up to the New Mexico state line. The OY chews through cut banks near the very top of the state of New Mexico. After reaching the state line, the train is backed down the mountain to Chama. The Cumbres and Toltec arranged a nighttime photo session, giving us the opportunity to get some rare images of the OY steamed up by the coaling tipple.
How'd you do today? I downloaded 116 images into the computer.
Here's a behind-the-scenes look at the photo line that has been following the OY's progress. It's Sunday, March 1st, and today the Rotary will finish working up to the summit of Cumbres Pass. Rotaries can throw either left or right by reversing the direction of the fan and shoot. With our photo line assembled on the left side of the track, the crew prepared the OY to throw right to avoid pelting us with ice and snow. A light snow begins to fall, completing the already perfect winter scene. Watch how the rotary bucks and shakes as it bites into the snow. The grade around Windy Point sets the backdrop for this scene as the Rotary chews its way through Coxo. After an hour of hard work through icy cuts, the OY emerges into view as it approaches Windy Point near the summit of Cumbres Pass. Repositioning to the old Cumbres station near the summit, the Rotary continues around Windy Point. Pausing on the bridge over the old seasonal road to Cumbres Pass, the OY again switches direction. While our main attention has been on the Rotary, engines 487 and 484, along with their engineers and firemen, are equally important in this mission and deserve some screen time. After cresting the summit of Cumbres Pass, the train will make a water stop as soon as the water spout is cleared of ice and snow. There is still a little plowing left to do, and we set up at the grade crossing of Highway 17 at the top of Cumbres Pass. The Rotary will continue to work toward the crossing before wrapping up its work. It takes time busting through snow and ice that have piled up on the roadside, which right now is like a 10-foot wall of cement. The Rotary gingerly eases through the Highway 17 crossing. The plan was to continue plowing as far east as Tanglefoot Curve, which had an estimated 7 feet of snow over the rail. Unfortunately, the rails were iced up on the east side of the crossing, and the railroad did not want to risk derailing the Rotary. The call was made to cease plowing any further and return to Chama, wrapping up 2 fantastic days of watching the classic steam-powered Rotary OY doing what it was made to do. We would like to thank all the men and women of the Cumbres and Toltec Scenic Railroad for their hard work in making this event possible. It's hard to say if we will ever get to see this classic Rotary in action again, but at least we have the memories to enjoy here. Then again, anything is possible. As always, until next time, thanks for watching.
Blast off, settle.